know me, my background is in project management with Alberta Health Services, the healthcare entity here in Alberta. I implement all the financial systems, kind of computer geeky type stuff. I said that story in the office the other day, and I asked if there were any computer geeks in the crowd. Nobody raised their hand, so maybe I'm a lone wolf here. I don't know. Definitely not Jay, as he's shaking his head at me. So, anyways, I got started in WFG. First, I was a client of Jay's, and through that process, of course, he asked me if I'd be interested. At some point, I was invited out and to the business presentation, and I like to say I was the greatest recruit ever, and I certainly don't mean that from an egotistical perspective. By that I mean I was invited once, I accepted, I showed up, I was excited, and I booked my follow-up appointment for the next day. I showed up for that, and I did my AA. So imagine if everybody you contacted, that was the path to getting them started in the business. Wouldn't that be awesome? The unfortunate part of that story is I didn't show up again for about 2 years after that. So maybe not the perfect recruit. But anyways, it got started in a good way. Jay was persistent with his follow-up, got me out again, and I've been here for about 4 years since. I'm at a marketing director level right now, and love hanging out with you guys. Looking forward to walking you through some info about the business format system. Jay and I certainly didn't rehearse this. That'll become very apparent as we go through. But I put together a bit of a slide deck. I'm going to kind of say my bits, and Jay is going to fill in the gaps as we go. Jay, is that the plan?
We'll go through all the steps, and then I'll go through all the steps in another way.
Sounds perfect. Sounds perfect. So I'm going to share my screen. That is the right one. Can I get a thumbs up that you can see my fancy PowerPoint at this point? Jay's got a thumbs up, so perfect. Here's my promise to you guys. If you guys are a great crowd, if we get lots of participation and engagement in the chats, you guys are asking questions throughout that kind of stuff. I actually have on my computer the link to the BFS document, so an electronic version of it. I saw Jay was flipping through the paper copy on his desk there. I have the electronic one. If you're really nice, I'll pop the link in towards the end of the call, and you can keep it forevermore and share with your team at that point. We are going to go through BFS steps 4 through 6, and so let's make sure first and foremost we understand where we are in the process. If you don't know, if you're new, before we get to step 4, there's 3 steps prior to that, of course. So we prospected somebody, we've got their phone number, we put them on a list. We've then approached or contacted them and invited them out ultimately to the presentation. They've seen that presentation and they were intrigued enough to book a follow-up appointment, and that's where we're picking up the class tonight. So that's the background to where we're at here.
I know, right?
So let's jump right in. We're going to talk about the follow-up stuff, or the follow-up step, pardon me. In the document itself, so a lot of this is copy and paste from the document, and I'll just kind of add my color commentary throughout. But in the document for each step, it clearly outlines like what is the purpose of the step, and so the purpose of the follow-up step is to get the individual that you're meeting with, you're going to fast start the new recruit essentially. So my first kind of point on this is like assume that is exactly what's going to happen.
Okay.
So again, let's backtrack. They've seen a presentation, they were intrigued, they told you afterwards when you followed up with them that they loved it and you wanted to book a follow-up appointment with you. You're now in that follow-up appointment and they've shown up to be there, right? Like if they no-showed, then maybe something's up, but they've followed up, or sorry, they've shown up and they're actually interested in being there. The only logical outcome of that meeting is that they're going to get started with you at that point. And so you should go in thinking like that. And if you're not thinking like that, or maybe if you're new and you've got a trainer, your trainer's definitely thinking like that as well. And they've got the skills to close that deal, answer all the questions, and get that all done. So mindset's a big thing here. Like, hey, we're being serious. We're getting ready. They've had the next point. You want to invite them out or book that meeting. Pardon me, within 24 to 48 hours. They've had a night to sit on the information. They've had a night to Google and do their own research. They've had a night to talk to their parents or their friends or whoever and hear about all the
Did you
good
have
things
any
about
nuggets
WFG.
reading?
They've shown up again despite despite all that information, all that time for them to think. You got to assume that you're doing that application, pardon me, at that point. Within 24 to 48 hours, it's really important. So tonight's our BPM night. Somebody, if you've got a guest out tonight, you're going to follow up with them afterwards. The meeting's got to be tomorrow or Friday at the latest. Very, very important. I did not have a guest last week at the BPM, but I did do an appointment on Thursday. Individual was intrigued, really excited about getting started, really excited about a personal plan. We booked that appointment for tomorrow, a week later. Guess who has a cancellation in a schedule for tomorrow when I went to go to confirm that appointment today? I didn't capitalize on the individual's excitement. Somebody, I think it was my stepson, actually. It was my stepson. We were talking the other day. He and his girlfriend, they were buying a car, and he's like, hey, Nick, we did a test drive. We liked it. We wanted to think about it. And they were pretty forceful about booking an appointment for like the very next day. Why is that? And I'm like, I obviously explained it to him. He goes, well, that's kind of like a sales tactic, isn't it? And so, of course, there's a negative connotation with a sales tactic, so to speak. But sure, it is a sales tactic, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's a bad thing. We're helping the individual make a decision with the best information that they got available. A week isn't going to make or break, isn't going to help them get any more information to help with that decision. And the more, the sooner that they can make that decision, the better for everybody involved. Even if the answer is no, that's cool, fine, whatever. We move on to the next person. If it's not for them, it's not for them. But the sooner they can make that decision, the less likely it's going to linger on and be in their mind and all that kind of stuff, right? We're helping them make a decision, making that step forward, that kind of stuff. So that's why the timing for this is pretty critical when we do have guests out or when we are showing our contacts what it is that we do.
You want to try this?
What do we want to cover in that follow-up interview? There's a long list. I grabbed a few key things. Again, keep in mind, if you're new and you have a trainer, then most of this is for your trainer to execute during that meeting. However, if you're doing your own meetings, this is absolutely for you. And if you are training, again, keep in mind at some point in your WFG career, you're going to be doing your own appointments. And so the purpose of going through the training process right now is you're taking notes and building up your knowledge, your words of the business, that sort of stuff, to be able to do your own appointments one day. So regardless of what stage you are in your business, this is important stuff to know.
Was it that applesauce one?
Step one is there's some rapport building, so you're getting back together after the presentation the night before. You want to hear, hey, like, what was it again that intrigued you about that? What did you like? What caught your eye? And then you want to get to know a little bit more about the individual. So maybe you've got an existing relationship, but your trainer doesn't with that individual. Your trainer's going to dig in and try and get to know that person a little bit better. What's their family situation? What is their work situation? Are they happy and thrilled? If I'm sitting down with Jay and hey Jay, how was work today? And he goes, it was all right. Oh well, what is it that you do for work? And we're going to get into that conversation, and I'm probably going to learn if that was his initial reaction to my first question. Probably going to learn that he's maybe not satisfied with his current employment and he's looking for other options. And so now I know what his hot buttons are, and we can kind of carry on with the rest of the appointments, knowing that information. Throughout the presentation, the presentation is meant to properly set expectations. So depending on who your trainer is or what team you're on, you may or may not do this differently. We draw it out. We talk about brokers and agents. We talk about how to progress from a training associate to an SMD. We talk about our compensation model. We talk about the rewards and recognition that the company puts on for us. We get into what the training program is going to look like, and then we get into all the costs associated with obtaining a license and completing that licensing process.
Lemon juice.
We're setting expectations with that new prospect all along the way. So there's no surprises that somebody does their AA and then realizes the next day, oh shoot, I got to come up with another $200 to buy the course, right? So they know that up front before they even do their AA application there.
Don't.
Questions. They're going to have questions. Those are totally normal, and it's a great opportunity to be able to field those questions for them. Maybe they've got, they're a little bit skeptical. Maybe they don't have enough self-confidence in themselves. How many times have you heard somebody say, well, I'm not really much of a salesperson, or I don't know if I can talk to people, I'm pretty introverted, those sorts of things. And so they're going to have questions about that, self-doubt, things of that nature, and it gives the trainer or yourself an opportunity to build them up a little bit, build their confidence, let them know that we all started probably from the same place. I feel like I am still the biggest introvert. I used to think I hated people, which is probably not too far from the truth, but I've learned to love all of you and enjoy getting into conversations with people that I don't know. I definitely never thought of myself as a salesman. Anyways, there's lots of relatable content there as people can talk their way through, and your trainer or yourself are able to help that individual overcome those questions or objections they might have. We're going to complete the AA application. It takes 5 minutes. That is the expectation going into the meeting. That's obviously the key goal coming out of it, is we want to complete that, get them appointment date. The BFS book says within 72 hours. I'd argue that's probably a little too far out. Like, you probably want to do it the next day. Ben LeClaire was in the office in Edmonton the other day, a couple weeks back. He was pretty adamant that appointment is the next
they're both
day.
recording.
Like, if we're meeting at 7:15 on a Wednesday night, you're coming into Ben's office the following day to do your startup appointment, your initial startup appointment at that point.
Yeah, it started with an M.
So you want to get something. I'm not really watching the chat window. If there's any questions, maybe I'll circle back on those when Jay's talking, and I can type away at that point.
What is it? What do you need?
The next step is that startup appointment. So we booked it. We've done the AA preferably yesterday, and today we're meeting to do their startup appointments. Again, the book says, it's like I'm talking about the Bible. It kind of is the Bible for WFG. But anyways, the book says we got to start the path of helping your new recruit become confident in the business. The next bullet point is pretty direct way of saying, and again, this is out of the book. This isn't necessarily me being a jerk here right now, but pretty direct way of saying, just because you did their AA doesn't mean you've done anything. Matter of fact, you haven't done anything just yet. We had a meeting. Jay's team had a call on it was Monday night. Pardon me. And Paxton Fritch was on it, and he flat out said, like, if somebody isn't interested in getting a license, then don't even bother doing their AA. Right now, there's lots of people that say they're interested in getting a license. We get their code in place for them, and then they never do get their license. That, of course, happens. But if you want to be able to tease out in that first follow-up interview how serious they are about actually getting licensed and getting on with it.
Where are your sandwich containers?
The AA is certainly the first step, but it's far from the last step. I found this one interesting. This again is right out of the BFS book. But a leader's work isn't complete until the new associate becomes a self-sustaining, self-replicating WFG business owner, as an SMD. So Jay, sorry, you're not done with me yet. I'm not an SMD yet. Any of us that are on the call that aren't SMDs, we can hold our SMDs accountable to that. We still need their support to get all the way through. Now, most of you, I don't see everybody that's on my screen. Jay is the only SMD on this call right now. I think there are others, but that's all I'm seeing.
Chicken's healthy.
You might be saying, hey, Nick, I'm not an SMD yet, so how do I help somebody else get to SMD if I'm not there? Well, you grow together, and you get to SMD by helping other people get to their business goals and achieving their targets and things of that nature, which many of the people that get started at SMD is one of those goals. And so getting there together is how we do it. And it's your responsibility for your people. And so we'll dive into a little bit about what this rest of the startup appointment is going to entail. But keep that in mind as we go through and as you're talking to people, as you're bringing people on board. In this appointment, now I've heard of a couple different ways to do this. Again, when Ben Leclerc was in training, I think if there's anyone from the Leclerc team on the call, they can confirm this. I think they split this up over multiple appointments. This isn't just one appointment, because as we go through this is a lot of content that's going to take a lot of time to get through. So I think they do multiple appointments and short bursts with very specific goals in mind for each of those appointments. Jay, I think you're starting to do like 2 or 3 hour appointments to try and get through the whole list in one shot, if I'm not mistaken. Again, you can confirm that when you're up. But what do we want to cover as part of the startup process? Well, first and foremost, again, we got to get them on that course, which means they got to purchase it. And not only do they got to purchase it, we got to set exam dates. I think Jay, again, Jay, I'll confirm this, but I believe you're talking with Jason Bergeron. You said, WFG, he was telling you that WFG, the front half of it, up until we do the AA, is we tell people what they're doing. We tell them they're coming to a BPM. We tell them that they're coming to a follow-up appointment. We tell them they got to do their AA. We tell them that they got to buy the course, and then we let them go and let them figure it out on their own. We should keep telling them, hey, it's Wednesday. Your first exam, you're going to write your ethics exam on Sunday. Now, if they have an objection or if they work that day, or I don't know if they're in church that day or whatever the case may be, people have lives outside of this, of course. And part of that startup process is getting WFG into their life, into their schedule, because they don't have it there yet. Sunday might not work for them. And so, of course, you negotiate around that. But it's certainly not, oh, well, whenever I get to it, I'm going to open the book this week. And, I think I got an hour here, an hour there, and maybe I'll be able to write the exam towards the end of the month. Like, no, that's not going to work. From experience, I haven't recruited a whole bunch of people, but I've recruited enough to know that if they tell you they'll get to it when they get to it, they won't ever get to it. And so we need to help them set those dates, set those targets for themselves, and actually be working towards it. We want to talk to them about their personal plan. This isn't a personal plan class, but it's incredibly important to go ahead and do that for a number of reasons. We always talk about the shoeless shoe salesman. You aren't selling too many shoes if you don't have shoes yourself. There's that aspect, but I like to come at it from this angle. They can be their first client example, and they're going to understand what that client process within our business is going to look like by walking through in their own personal situation. And so, at a very bare minimum, we're doing an info gather with that individual. We're walking them through how we help clients, identifying areas within their personal finances that we can help, and we're presenting them options to do that. Of course, it's their choice if they want to proceed or not. There's lots of classes on why they should, and obviously we know and have great belief in our own products and systems and things like that. So anyways, we want to definitely cover their personal plan is the key point there. We then want to help them get on with their prospect list, and we like to narrow down to the top 25. They really should be putting somewhere in the neighborhood of 100 names down, and eventually they're going to call them all. But for this first kind of initial grand opening blitz, if you will, they're opening their business. They want to let their people know. We want to identify the kind of the top 25, the first 25 people that they're going to contact, or we're going to contact together, and we're going to help them go through the qualifying process of this. We'll talk about the macho markets, making sure that these folks are married, age 25 or older typically. They got kids, they're a homeowner, they're open to opportunities, things of that nature. So we want to make sure that we're helping them qualify that list as they're writing people's names down. Now that they've got a list of people, they better know how to talk to those people if we have any hope of getting them in an appointment. And I make that sound maybe worse than it is. It's actually pretty easy to get them in appointments. But they got to know what the words of the business is, how to talk to these people, how to invite them out. And so we want to spend some time on those scripts that we've got, whether it's the Tethor script or any of the other ones that we've got handy. Going through that list of top 25, I don't know if it's their brother and sister, they can probably just pick up the phone and say, hey, I need you on Zoom at 7 o'clock tonight, period. The end, and don't even really tell them why. And then, they're going to have a small list, a small subset of that list that they can be very direct with and say, hey, get your butt on a call. Cool. Let's get those folks on a call. then there's going to be a group on there that they do need to use Teeth, or they do need to use some of the other, you know, we're expanding those sort of scripts that we're using. And we wouldn't expect them to know. I guess that's the key point here, is that we wouldn't expect anybody to know. I sure as heck didn't know the words of the business when I got started. Boy, did I need a lot of help in that area. And I'm sure I fumbled through the first dozen or so invites that I did ultimately finally send out, but getting through that process and ultimately cleaning up those words and sounding professional, sounding confident with them is a big part of the startup process.
Myla,
They have to be able to answer questions is the next point.
please get
They
Rachel
have to.
order supper too.
Questions are normal. Matter of fact, it's not normal if I call to invite somebody and they don't ask me a question. Hey, who do you work for? What is it that you actually do? Oh, I've heard about that. I've already got an advisor that helps me. There's a list of frequently asked questions. They got to be prepared to respond to those. It would be really weird. I don't think I've ever done it, or I've ever had a case like this myself, but it'd be really weird to call somebody and they not ask a question about what this is before they agree to show up. So preparing them for that, making sure that they understand it's totally normal, totally okay, and making sure that they're clear on what to respond with is very important. The best part about this, and I've been doing it, again, like I said, 4 years, Jay's been doing it 11 years now, if I'm not mistaken. There's only a finite set of questions that people ask at this stage, and we've got great training on how to respond to all of them. There's nothing outside. I've yet to hear anything outside of that list of FAQs that we see in a high impact week 1 class. So that's the good news, is it's a small list and we can work through that with them. Last but not least, and I talked about this already with the target exams and such, but we want to build a bit of a business plan with them. What's the business plan? Well, we're, again, according to the manual here that I read, and common sense as well, it's setting some goals, setting some deadlines, and setting an action plan to actually get on with it. You know, how are you going to track your business? What sort of metrics are you going to take a look at? In our business, it's pretty simple, and we'll touch on this in a slide or two. Luckily, there's not 1.5 million things to track, or that you have to track, I should say. There probably is 1.5 million things you could track, but you don't need to track all of them. So again, helping them set some of those targets for themselves to work towards, and then creating a system for them to update you on how they're progressing, or you to work with them to progress along that line. Step 6 is around duplication. And again, the purpose on this is from the book, is we're going to help an associate build a business by following a system through which recruiting and building new leaders never stops. Never stops is the key part there, of course. We're constantly looking to grow our businesses, and constantly trying to help our teammates grow their business. And we do that through recruiting. Why do we want to do that? There's a finite number of hours in a day. Especially if you're part-time, like I'm part-time right now. So tonight's Wednesday, we got the BPM, call it 6:30 to 8:30. If I squeezed it in, I could probably help 1 client tonight on a Wednesday night generally, and still be able to attend training if I squeezed it in. And it would be a squeeze with the rest of my schedule, and making sure that I'm at the office. Most nights I'm at the office. Tonight, since we're training online, I stayed at home, but it would be a real squeeze to put 1 in for Wednesday night for myself personally. But my team, collectively, maybe if we all could do 1 on Wednesday night, maybe I don't know, I think I have 25 folks on the team, somewhere in that range. We could be helping 25 people all in the same time. So duplicating yourself allows us to be able to go out and help a lot more families than we can do on our own. Continually opening new outlets for your business. So the book defines an outlet as a new agent on your team, a new associate on your team. And so the analogy that we would like to use here is around, you know, a franchise model. If you're going to open up a new McDonald's or a new Tim Hortons, or insert whatever franchise you're thinking of here, the more stores you have open, the more business collectively that you're going to be able to do. One of the examples I actually like here, as I was thinking of putting this together, I don't know if you're from Alberta, you might have heard of the fast food joint. It's called Peter's Drive-In. Some people are nodding their heads yes. So when I was in junior high school, like 25 years ago in Edmonton, we took a field trip to Peter's Drive-In in Calgary. You might say, well, what the heck did you do that for, Nick? First of all, to have milkshakes and a burger and fries. They're fantastic there. But secondly, we were learning about business a little bit. And at that, I don't know what it is like right now, but at that time, Peter's Drive-In had one location in Calgary. It had been there forever. I don't know how long. And that single location on an annual basis brought in more revenue than any McDonald's location in the world. Not one McDonald's location in the world brought more money in than Peter's Drive-In in Calgary, Alberta, 25 years ago. Now, my question to you is, would you have wanted to be the owner of Peter's Drive-In, or would you have wanted to be an owner at the corporate level for McDonald's? You'd want the latter, right? So while they were bringing in more revenue for the one store, they only had one store, and McDonald's had 1 million locations, or whatever the number is at that time. And so through volume, McDonald's was dwarfing Peter's Drive-In. And the guy swore up and down that he would never, ever, ever franchise out or expand or add locations. And I think it wasn't too long ago, they added one finally. Maybe the guy, I don't know, maybe he passed away, maybe the kids took over, maybe he sold the business, I don't know. But there's 2 other locations. There's one in Edmonton, and now there's one in Red Deer, between the 2 cities, of course. So, but there's still only 3 locations. I don't know how they're doing numbers wise, but I always found that interesting that he would never franchise out, didn't want to scale his business. He was just satisfied with the one location being the best, I guess. Anyways, moving on. On the duplication side of things, we got to develop a recruiter's mentality. So the book goes on and on to talk about what this means. I'm sure Jay is going to spend some time on this in a minute. He's probably one of, if not the best examples that we got. Actually, you are right now the best example we got in terms of recruiting right now and getting results in that area. So I'll leave majority of that for him. But it goes on and on to talk about, hey, this is constant. Like this isn't, hey, I'm going to make a couple calls today and try and recruit somebody, and then maybe I'll pick it up again next week. It's every day, all day. You're thinking about recruiting. You're getting the oil changed. Since I've been in WFG, I haven't gotten an oil change without asking the oil change guy if he keeps his career options open and getting a phone number. Just an example, waitresses or waiters at a restaurant, the list goes on and on. As you're going throughout your day-to-day, you're always constantly keeping your eye out for good people, people that impress you, people that you want to have in your business, and then collecting their phone numbers, prospecting them, and ultimately then approaching and contacting them. 2 factors are going to determine how large your company grows and how large any company grows. One is that we're continuously opening outlets, and 2 is the volume production per outlet. And so if you're constantly adding team members, you're opening new outlets, you're into new markets, and you're going to work with them and obviously yourself as well on getting some volume production out there. So they're going to help some families, they're going to recruit some more team members, rinse and repeat there. Key point it says in there, and this is really important. We had a really good, oh shoot, I can't remember who it was on the stage over the weekend at the event. But anyways, the message was, hey, like if you're going to go, it might have been Bernardo, I can't remember. Anyways, if you want to, insert profession here, I don't know, maybe you want to be an accountant. Well, you can't just walk into an accounting firm today and apply for a job and get hired on the spot and immediately start earning an income in that industry. You're going to go to school for at least 4 years. Actually, it is exactly 4 years that you would go to school for. You're going to have to pass a whole bunch of exams and learn a whole bunch of stuff. Then you're going to get into what's called an articling year, where you're kind of a junior accountant, so to speak, and you're not really earning at the level that a full-on licensed accountant would be. And then you got to go write the world's most ungodliest exam. I think it takes 2 or 3 days to write the stupid thing. I'm saying all this. At one point in my life, I wanted to be an accountant, and I took the first accounting class, and I'm like, oh God, I cannot do this for the rest of my life. So I was able to pivot at that point and moved on to somewhere else with a degree. But anyways, the exam, I know a lot of people that taken the exam, it's like 2 or 3 days, grueling. They actually take 2 or 3 months of full-time studying just to prepare for the thing. Anyways, that's beside the point. But then finally, once they're done that, they get their designation, their CPA designation, and now they can earn as a full accountant, probably in a junior role still at that point. You know, you're not a senior accountant, you're not running companies and things like that of that nature. So when you apply that thought process as an employee, that, you know, hey, it takes a lot of time, a lot of effort to build up the skills and build up the experience to be able to earn a full-time income and then some. And then a lot of people think, well, hey, you know, I've been trying this thing for like 3 to 4 weeks and I haven't made any money yet. You know, what's going on? Well, you need to take some time. Now, it doesn't need to take 4 to 5 years, like an accounting degree would. And it certainly doesn't cost the 50 or 60 grand that it would cost to go to university these days.
Milo,
It's only
did you
600
get
bucks
it?
to get a license.
I'm not
in
warming it
Alberta.
up again.
But it's not going to take you 2 to 3 weeks to build a really strong business in this industry. And so keep that in mind. Be patient with your results as they start to compound over time. I think this is my last slide, Jay. Just give you a tip or a heads up, and I think I burned half the call, which is probably more than I needed to, but I will wrap up very quickly. This business is simple, like really simple. It's hard work. You got to put in the hard work, but it's simple. It's so simple. I was able to put it into 5 points, which again, I copied and pasted from the book itself. Here's how we train. You learn to do it yourself. You go and do it. Then you show somebody how to do it. Then you go to do it with them. Then they do it. And then they show somebody how to do it. It's that easy, right? And so obviously there needs to be a lot of consistency over time and a lot of time invested in there. But if we keep things simple, building and growing a business and duplicating ourselves in that business is actually pretty straightforward. I've heard Jay say this a million times. I think he might have heard it from Rial, and it's in the book as well. So maybe we're all copying from each other. But we owe our team members 2 things. First, the opportunity, and second, an example of success. And the last point, again, this is maybe a bit more direct, but it's right out of the book. It says in the book, make sure the master copy is worth duplicating, which means make sure you're worth duplicating. When you're attracting people into your business, why would they want to come and join your business and learn from you? I think of that myself as well. Am I putting out a good example there for them? Am I showing results that they would want to have in their life as well? Lots of that goes through my mind, I guess, as I'm bringing someone new and training them throughout their early days in the business here. So hopefully that was good value. That is my last slide, so I'm going to stop sharing. Really appreciate the time chatting with you guys. Again, hopefully you got some value. I will pop that link in here eventually to the BFS system, so I'll be able to hand that out to you guys. But I want to bring up Jay. I'm sure everybody knows Jay. I think I nailed it. He's been in business for 11 years. He's over 500K income, and he is a master recruiter, and his numbers are showing as such. Even 11 years in the business, you got 23 now, 22, 23, somewhere in there. It's been a little over 60 days since we came back from convention. He went on a mission to get 100 directs in 365 days. I'm sure he's going to tell you all about it. So welcome up, Jay White. Thanks,
buddy, and great job. That was awesome. And Nick, they were good. They were attentive. They deserve the BFF. Let's give it to the people. Guys, that was some great stuff. You know, the way that I wanted to kind of structure this one's kind of how I did it last week with steps 1, 2, 3, where, you know, I kind of have the first person go through each one, and then because we never say the same things, and so kind of going back over it. I'll give you kind of some different stuff. So what I loved about how Nick did that was that he went straight out of the manual, right? Which is, hey, nothing that I'm going to give you is smarter than anything Rich Tholley and Monty Home wrote down in that book all those years ago. And so the way that Nick went through that was just perfect. I hope you took screenshots and notes and all that good stuff. Excellent. People are holding up notes. I see it. It's really good. So this is your manual. right? I mean, I've got one here. This is the oldest version I've ever seen. It's from 2007 and it's never been written in. I got lucky. So my parents were in the business a long time ago with me and got one of these and never used it. And my mom found it recently. She's like, I've got this really old thing. Do you want this? I'm like, yes, I want that. That's amazing. It's about 7 times as thick as the current BFS. It's got lots and lots of info in it. But it's awesome. Anyway,
Let me see.
It's the-
Hop into a cup.
it's the steps to go from a brand new person to how to become successful here. And if you can master the 6 steps, isn't that cool? It's just 6 steps. If you can master the 6 steps, you're going to win. Like,
I hopped.
Taking chance out of it,
And then I saw go.
doesn't that sound like a
You
smart
hop
thing to
into
do?
your supper and eat it.
You know, like I remember walking in, you guys it would blow your mind if you saw the office that I grew up in the business. It had Real, I'll miss 100 names, but I'll tell you some ones you've heard of. It had Real and Raja. It had Steve Holbrook, Cam Agnew, Greg Stranadka, Brad Radke. It had Mark Grable. It had Ben Spangle. It had Adam Daw. We were all in one office. We're all in one place. Isn't that nuts to even think about? And I remember walking in, I'm brand new, and I'm looking around, and there's this guy's making this million, and that guy, and I'm like, and I see all these champions on their teams, and Bhupinder Chima's got Raja Dhaliwal and Dave Dhaliwal. I'm like, how do you do that? Right? And I just had this, like, do I have to get lucky? Like, is that how this
Wait,
works? Like, I've got to get
Thunderbolt?
lucky?
Can you please eat your supper?
And then I read the BFS, and I said, no, I don't. I just have to run the system. That's all I got to do. I just run a system, and I'm going to win. And before I jump into it, I want to talk to you really quickly about a part of our system that is coming up. AOC knows because they're looking at their WhatsApp, and they're like, yep, I know where he's going with this. It's 13 days. 13 days until the launch of the Banff event. Okay. Now, obviously, you're going to be ready on the 17th when Greg launches the code, and you'll get your ticket. I'm confident that you will. And the way I positioned this at our team party at our house the other day, I said, look, if you can get your ticket, I'm going to ask you to do it on the 17th. If getting your ticket on the 17th would cause you stress and hunger, then don't do it on the 17th. Okay, put a little bit of money away for a couple paychecks and then get it, but it's gonna sell out. It's not gonna sell out on the 17th. Okay, but this is an event that's going to sell out. Okay, the entire Team Dynasty, East Coast as well, is coming to Banff. You've just got to be ready to get a ticket before you can't get a ticket. Okay, so enough on that. I'll probably beat you over the head with that about 40 more times before the 17th. Anyway, I'm confident we'll all be there and have a great event. So step 4, follow up. Let's give you some different stuff.
Where are you?
Okay, just a little bit of different stuff. So
Some of your
I thought Nick did a great job on the follow-up interview. I just want to give you a couple of follow-up interview tips.
Got you.
Okay, follow-up interview tips. I'll start with this. If you're, I don't want anything to fall through the cracks on you. Here's what I mean by that. Like, I want you to picture a strainer and then pour some water in it. What happens? Goes right through. Okay. The last thing I want for you, very last thing, the last thing I want for you in the business would be this. You do the diligent work of building a list. You make a phone call that you didn't necessarily want to make. You manage to get a yes. You manage to have them show up to the open house. You happen to say the right words after the open house. You manage to book a follow-up appointment. And they show up for the follow-up appointment. And then you don't know how to close an AA yet, and you go in there by yourself, and your water goes right through the strainer. How many of you guys experienced this? Of course you have, okay? Now, the first thing I want to tell you is this. I love the fact that you tried to fly before you were ready.
I just got a little.
I love that you were just, I'm just going to give this a
I
go.
just got a little pinch.
Okay.
I just see the piece
But it's
of bread.
painful to watch you
Like
go
a
through all the
little
work and then not get the result for it. And so what I'm going to encourage probably a bunch of you guys to do, you guys all know Adam Daw, right? Just crossed $1 million, by the way. Fantastic. There was a time when Adam was in my base shop, he couldn't close anything. Okay. Tried to fly a little too early. Had to go back in, do a few more field training appointments. Had to learn a couple more things. Had to learn to read people a little bit more. Had to learn the right thing to say here and the right thing to draw there. And then boom. Okay. Then good to go. And so for some of us, I know you want to fly, but it's more important to get a result and learn how to produce that result. Does that make sense? Okay. You know what's been kind of cool for me that I've been doing more in the last couple of weeks than I have maybe in the last 10 years is appointments outside of my base shop. Right? Here's what I've got. I've got leaders in my team that kind of, either kind of know what they're doing or are pretty good, know what they're doing. They're going, hey, I just love to see you close an AA for me. I just want to see what you're doing. There's something you're saying that I'm not saying. I want to see what that is. And I love that. I've been helping team, other people bring people on board.
Supper yet?
Hey, at the end of the day, they're all in my team. Of course, I'm
Did
going to do
you
it.
your supper yet?
Right. And the more people if I can
Supper.
get somebody else to do 100 directs in a year,
How many times do I
I'm open to having that inside my team too. You know what I'm saying?
But I don't want
So let me give you a couple of simple things. Okay. A couple simple things. Number one, just, hey, get out on a bunch more field training appointments with someone who knows how to close an AA. Okay. Somebody that's closed a bunch of them. Okay. But when you're in that meeting, I want you to keep it very simple. Okay. Here's the first thing that we do. I want you to spend some time just chatting. Okay. The first 10 to 15 minutes of my meetings, even in a follow-up meeting, we're just chatting. I want everything to be very light before I start talking business. I think that's a big key to why I have a lot of success in recruiting. Okay, by the time we get into it, it's almost like we're buddies. And then I can start getting into it. Now, in the course of that conversation, here's what I'm trying to uncover. I want to know what they want. That's what I want to know. I want to know what they want. There's a lot of questions that you can ask to find out what they want. It'll typically come up in the course of just getting to know them in that rapport building stage. I'll tell you about an appointment I did really recently. I was talking with, I was doing an appointment again for somebody not in my base. It was Greg, not Greg Sternadka, one of my Gregs. And great guy we were meeting with. And turned out, he's got a young family, and I got to ask him about his kids and about his work. And I uncovered that what he would just absolutely love to be able to do is make the money that he makes now and be able to be at home a lot more to help out with the baby. And then I sold him the dream on how he could do that here. And it's hard to tell because we were on Zoom. I'm pretty sure I brought a tear to his eye at the thought of it. And he got coded today, right? And we're going to make that happen for him, right? It's going to be awesome. Can't wait when he can do that, right? So real simple things. Let's find out what they want and show them how WFG can get it for them. If you can do those two things, do you think it matters? Let me ask you this, in all seriously. If I can show you how you can get what you want that you've not been able to get at your job, does it really matter what I draw on the page? After I've shown you how to do that, after I've made it clear in your mind that I realize you want this and we can get it here this way. It doesn't matter. There's no magic presentation at that point in time. There's no magic words that I say, you know, to close an AA or those kinds of things. I'm just drawing connections. What do you want? Here's how you can get it. Hey, what would you value in your life? Oh man, I just love my job, but there's just not enough money. Okay, cool. Let me show you the comp. Right? Man, you know, the comp's pretty good in my job, but God, they don't treat me very good. Let me show you our recognition system. Man, I kind of like my job, but you know, I'm on call all the time, and you know, I never really know how do I build my life around that. Cool. Let me show you how my guys control their schedule. There's always a way. You've maybe not been around long enough to realize this. There's a way to adapt WFG to fill a
Do you
hole,
want ketchup?
whatever the hole is
Is
in
there
their
ketchup on
work
the
life. Is
the
adapt
ketchup bottle on the
fixing
table?
right? Nick's like,
You know
hey
where
man,
to
I
find
actually
it?
got a pretty good job. I don't even hate it, but I can't make $1 million a year here. Great, let me show you how to get to CEO. Right? Nick doesn't need to be here, but he can't become a millionaire there. That's why we're here. So I hope that helps a little bit. Okay. Moving on to some different things. I'm just going to jump around, have a little bit of fun. You know, we got 13 minutes to kind of riff here on 4, 5, 6. In terms of follow-up, let's also talk about your follow-up game. Because in most people don't have one. Most of you, not all, most of the people on this call are in WFG because of Greg Stranadka's follow-up game with me. So roughly every 6 months, it was probably exactly every 6 months, really, if I think back to it. He would contact me.
Pick up the puzzle pieces.
He would call me.
Do you want to do the puzzle on the
Hey man,
table?
just wanted to check and see how work's going.
Put them on the
Oh,
table.
it's still pretty
Let's
good.
do it.
Okay, cool. Here's what he would ask me to do. You ready? Here's the phrase. I heard this a few times. If something goes wrong at work, I just want you to call me first. Just call me first. Guess what I did? He was the only call I made. Right? When things went wrong at work, he was the call I made. Thank goodness something went wrong at work, or I'd still be stuck over there doing that. So here's what I see. And my guess is you're going to fall into one of these two categories. And maybe you don't. Who knows? Maybe you have this amazing follow-up game. One of two strategies is what most people use for their follow-up strategy. Number one, no follow-up at all. That'd be number one. I give you a call, kind of doesn't work out on day one. I cross you off the list. Okay, so or I just never think of you again. Or number two, you try the exact same form of communication over and over and over. And you're like, I just sent this guy 19 messages in a row. I copied and pasted it 9 times. Sometimes I waited 1 day. Sometimes I waited 3 days. They just never get back to me. My follow-up strategy is working really good. I'm going to keep trying that. One of those two things sound familiar? All right, here's the big tip. Are you ready? Try something different. Try something else. Try some humor. I think the reason they created Bitmojis is that you can throw some humor at people that are ghosting you. There's lots of funny ones in there. There's even one that says, "Are you ghosting me?" I love that one. You know how many times I'll send somebody 2 messages, bang, bang, no reply. And I'll send them, "Hey, are you ghosting me?" I'll send them one of those, right? I want to get a little humor into it. Okay. Another thing you can do has to be short. Hey, quick video, 15-second video. Hey, was just thinking about you, whatever you're going to say in it. Send them a quick video, 15, 18 seconds, not long. Nobody's going to watch a minute-long video. Right? Video. Lots of different things. Maybe you were talking about a product. Great. Let's get a link to something that tells them about the product. Send them the link. Hey, I was thinking of you. I saw this. Okay, just try something else. Copy and paste the same text message is not a follow-up game. Okay, after 2 times, got to go somewhere else. All right. Some more step 4 ideas. We actually have a class on this, but you probably haven't gone to it for a while. It's called 7 Keys to a Fast Start. So in the follow-up, right, I just do your AA,
Rachel, do you want to do the
and I
puzzle?
want to help.
Mila, are you going to eat your supper, please?
Get your business. We got to get started and think like a business
You're not
person.
going to eat this? You're not going to be hungry then?
And obviously, I mean, you've all been to the 7 Keys to a Fast Start class. You know what they are.
And you're saying,
I'll quickly go through them, but
you're going to be
this is a
hungry.
great
Bedtime
time. This is an important time to start talking about these kinds of things. So number 1, showing up.
Okay, I'll go to bed because I'm not gonna be hungry.
If somebody doesn't show up, they're just straight up not going to win. Okay. You don't show up. I can't teach you something if you're not there to learn it. Right? If you're not in Banff, you know, when everybody else is there catching the messages, it's gonna be harder. It's not that you can't win, it's gonna be harder. Right? There's also this thing. Well, you guys can handle this if I tell you this, right? Your coaches are gonna take you less serious if you're not there. They want to deal with serious people. Skipping meetings tells them you're not serious. For real. Right? I want you to picture this for a second.
I thought you were going to do the puzzle.
Give you a visual. It's the middle of January in Edmonton. And you're driving in your nice warm car down the Anthony Henday Drive, and you got two cars stranded on the side of the road. And in one of them, you can see a guy sitting in his car, just kind of on his phone. And in the other car, he's in the back of it trying to push it, getting it going. Which one do you stop and help? You got to choose one. People like to help the people that are trying to help themselves. I get out and help them push. Right? We've got to get to the events. Just got to get to the events. This wasn't supposed to be about Banff. Here I went on 2 tangents about Banff. Anyway, got to be in Banff. All right. Attend all meetings. We got to build a prospect list. We've got to master some basic invitations. Those basic invitations are in High Impact Week 1. If you don't have a copy of High Impact Week 1, let's go ask your trainer, can I get a copy of High Impact Week 1? It's got all the scripts in it. It's got all the frequently asked questions and the answers to it. Okay, we've got to, before you read, whatever it is that you're reading that doesn't have a whole lot to do with WFG right now, let's put that one away for a little bit and let's go read High Impact Week 1 and the BFS. Okay, High Impact Week 1 and the BFS. You can master those things, your income will rise and you'll have lots of time to go read the other stuff. Goals.
Vinegar.
Got to have some.
Yeah, try this on your French fries.
Like, very seldom do we just fall into great numbers. Like, it almost never happens. Right? Things we write down on paper, we then act accordingly. Like, geez, I sure hope I have a good month. Okay, what's that?
Like salt vinegar chips. What's the difference?
Oh.
I mean, you get to choose, but, what's a good month?
Potato.
Right? We got to think about it, get it on paper. We got to field train immediately. Okay, in your startup, you got to field train immediately. Let's get out in the field. 10 appointments as fast as you can. Why 10? I don't know. Sounds like a nice round number. You can learn some stuff in 10 appointments. Hey, let's get on 10 appointments right away. Last 2, be positive and coachable. Okay, nobody. Hey, have you ever heard anybody say this? You look miserable. How do I get in? You ever heard anybody say that? You look grumpy. You look like your job sucks.
Are you eating them?
Can I do it with you? You make business look like it's really difficult and annoying. Can I get in? Said nobody ever. Okay, let's be positive. If you need to, you know what Greg used to do? He used to put a little sticky note on his computer that reminded him to smile. It's like, hey, smile. You make $3 million a year. Smile. Anyway, so positive, coachable. I have no time to get into steps 5 and 6. This is what happens when you've been teaching on stuff for a long time. You build up too much material. You can ramble on for a while. So I don't know. Let's keep going. I have to go do recognition in the big room in 4 minutes. But let's do 3 more minutes. Let's do 3 more minutes. Thank you, Candace. I appreciate that. 5, startup. There's no way I can get into these. I'm going to have to do this class again. Luckily for all of us, Nick covered them all already. And I was just filling in some blanks. So let's just assume that he didn't leave any stone unturned in steps 5 and 6.
That's like clean the window.
I just put your vinegar.
Good stuff.
You want to put salt on your vinegar fries?
All right. So I'll take 2 minutes to kind of riff on some stuff. Number 1, you know you got to get to Banff. Okay? I'm not going to hit you on that anymore tonight. There will be more. And we got to get your personal recruiting going.
And I was only eating my French fries.
Yeah, got to get your personal recruiting going. One thing that
Put vinegar on it gets wet.
has become really clear to me, you know, it's kind of crazy. Like,
Put salt on it.
I've been in the business a long time. There's been times when I thought that I had more clarity than less and less than more. I feel very clear on what makes the difference between somebody that's winning and somebody that's not right now. And it's the number of appointments that they do. It's very simple, right? The number of appointments. I've been asking people a lot lately, like, what are your appointment standards? Like, what's good? Like, if you do this number of appointments in the week, are you happy with that? And I got to tell you, here's what I'm finding.
Your ability to lie to yourself.
The numbers are not congruent with their goals. In general, I'm painting a company with a big brush, right? In general, the number of appointments that somebody thinks it takes to win, they're not congruent with the things that they say that they want.
Okay.
I want to get full time. I want to make $6-7 grand a month, quit my job. How many appointments a week is good? 3. No, it's just not going to work out. Right? We're up in the 10-12 range as a part-timer, 15, 18, 20 range as a full-timer. Everything is going to go your way. Right? It's just a matter of building to that. So anyway, it becomes a lot easier to do 20. By the way, I'm probably averaging 27 to 32 appointments per week right now. How do I do that? I recruited lots of people. There's lots of training, lots of field training to do. Right? It gets a lot easier to fill your schedule with teammates.
Yeah.
That's why I say you got to get your personal recruiting going. Anyway, with that, everybody, thanks so much for being here. I hope you got some good, little nuggets that you can use.